Hi, this is Bryan. Today we're going to be installing a BimmerTech front view camera, rear view camera, and SmartView on an F10 5 Series.
This installation guide is designed to be used with the QPI BM12 multimedia interface. Please check the label on your multimedia interface as there are several different versions, and consult the correct installation guide and video. Whenever you're working on any electrical components, always be sure to disconnect the negative battery terminal by using a 10mm socket. Next, we need to remove the trunk liner. Begin by removing the 10 plastic fasteners by unscrewing them with a Phillips head bit. If the car you're working on has an assisted close button, gently press it out and disconnect it. Now unscrew the two Phillips head screws that secure the roadside hazard toolkit in place. These screws are covered in felt and they can be difficult to see. At this point you will need to release the two side fasteners by gently pulling away from the car. Then remove the roadside hazard toolkit. Lastly, gently press down the tab that secures the emergency trunk release handle in place and remove it. Gently pull the trunk liner down from the rear. Release the trunk light from the trunk liner and disconnect it. It's now time to replace the trunk handle by gently pressing down on the tabs that secure it in place. Once the handle has been removed, disconnect it. Remove the blue switch from the factory handle by unclipping the 4 areas that secure it in place. The easiest way to do this is with a BimmerTech trim tool. Once this has been removed, clip it onto the new handle. Slide the camera wire into the far right hole, reconnect the disconnected connection, and clip the new handle in place. Now it's time to run the rear camera wiring. Begin by removing the 2 plastic fasteners that secure the side trunk carpeting in place, then gently pull the carpeting back. We now need to feed the camera wire through the trunk arm. To do this, feed a sturdy wire or a thin hanger through the opening, being careful not to damage any of the other wires. Once your wire is all the way through, tape the end of the rear view camera extension cable with the white connection to the wire. Then gently pull the cable through the trunk arm. Route the rear view camera's wire to this connection and connect the two of them. Then secure them with either heat shrink or electrical tape. Continue guiding the wire through the trunk arm, removing any additional slack. Secure the rear view camera extension cable behind the carpeting with zip ties, then feed the remaining wire through the rear seat. Remove the side of the rear seat backrest by firmly pulling up on the upper portion. Then remove the plastic fastener behind the seat and continue running the cable under the carpeting. To remove the lower trim, we will need to loosen the bottom portion of the rear seat by firmly pulling upward. Remove the plastic fastener at the uppermost part of the trim and then gently pull up on the trim to release. Continue running the cable under the trim and carpeting. Remove the front trim by gently pulling upward, then continue running the cable. pull out on the A-pillar to release the 3 clips and continue running the rear view camera extension cable. We're now going to begin disassembling the dash to install the multimedia interface. Begin by pulling off the side trim. Next, pull up on the right side of the wooden dash trim and work your way across towards the steering wheel to release the clips. Once it's loose, disconnect the start-stop button, the hazard switch, and the door lock and unlock connections. Remove the 2 T20 screws, then pull outward on the faceplate to release it. Once the faceplate has been released, pull down on the levers to release these connections. Now remove the 4 T20 screws that secure the head unit in place and gently slide it out. A universal mounting location for the MMI that works well on cars with and without navigation is in a cavity located between the glove box and the radio. To access this location, we will need to remove the glove box. Begin by removing the 4 T20 screws located on top of the glove box. Next, remove the 3 T20 screws in the glove box to secure the plastic lining in place using a thumb driver. Once the screws are removed, remove the plastic lining. Lastly, remove the 2 outermost T20 screws, then remove the glove box. Once the glove box has been removed, disconnect the light and the light sensor connection. It's now time to set up the multimedia interface. The factory block harness connection has a lever that needs to be pulled up on to release it from the head unit. Once this has been removed, locate the optic cable. Using a trim tool or a pick tool, release the tab that secures this in place and plug it into the new block harness in the same location of where it was removed. On the new block harness, you will notice some wires with a white connection. Feed this through the opening towards the glove box. Then plug the new block harness into your head unit and connect the other end to the existing harness that was removed earlier. At this point, you can reinstall your head unit. Now it's time to remove the iDrive screen. To do this, remove the 2 T20 screws located at the bottom of the screen, and then rotate the screen out. At this point, we need to remove the factory video cable and install the new one. To do this, press on the tab that secures the video cable in place and slide it off. Now that the iDrive screen is out, we're going to set up the SmartView, as it will be positioned behind the iDrive screen. Begin by screwing on the 2 antennas on either side. Next, plug the RCA harness into the SmartView. Next, apply double-sided tape to the back of the unit, route the RCA cables behind the glove box, and mount the SmartView behind the iDrive screen. If you haven't done so already, it's time to install the new video cable to the iDrive screen. Always compare the new cable with the old to ensure that the correct end is being inserted. Once the cable has been installed, reinstall the screen. Always begin by ensuring that the dip switch settings are configured to your vehicle's screen type and the products you've purchased. On the screen, you will see a listing of all the dip switch settings. For example, in this installation, we need to activate the rear view camera, front view camera, and smart view for the large iDrive screen. So the configuration would be number 1 on, number 2 off, number 3 off, number 4 on, number 5 off, number 6 off, number 7 on, and number 8 off. Now that you've set your dip switches, let's go ahead and make all of the connections to the multimedia interface. Start by plugging in the video cable that you removed from the iDrive screen. Again, this is the factory video cable. We're going to plug this into LCD in on the multimedia interface. Next, take the new video cable that you connected to the iDrive screen and connect it to LCD out on the multimedia interface. Now plug the RCA wiring harness into the slot labeled AV in and out. Now find the power supply cable. This is the wire harness that contains the fuse box. Connect the larger of the two white connections into the white connection that stems from the block harness that we recently connected to the back of the head unit. Then take the smaller of the white connections and plug it into the multimedia interface where it's labeled power. Plug your mode selection switch into the multimedia interface where it's labeled mode. Then run this cable to your desired location. Plug the IR cable into the multimedia interface and run this cable, ensuring that the bulb of the sensor is in direct sight of the remote. Continue running your rear view camera extension cable to the multimedia interface, securing it with zip ties along the way. Then plug the white connection into the slot labeled RCam on the multimedia interface and plug the yellow RCA into the yellow RCA that's labeled Rear C. Now take the red, yellow, and white RCAs from the SmartView and plug them into the RCAs from the multimedia interface's wiring harness that are labeled AV2. Once you've done that, use the supplied wire taps to tap the SmartView power and ground into the multimedia interface's power and ground. For this, we're going to tap into the red and black wires that contain the fuse box. Simply slide the wire taps on both wires and squeeze down with pliers. Always ensure that you have a good connection. The last step of the process is to plug the audio out cables that stem from the RCA harness into the audio in RCA cables that are located on the block harness. Once you've done that, the SmartView is fully installed. Now we're moving on to the front view camera. In the driver's footwell, we need to remove the two T20 screws that secure the plastics in place, and also the two T30 screws that secure the airbag. When working with the airbag, never disconnect the connection. Once these are removed, simply lower the plastic and the airbag. Now we're going to run the wires for the front view camera. Start by connecting the RCA and power supply to the front view camera cable. Now tap into the same wires using the same tapping technique that we did with the SmartView. Then take the yellow RCA and plug it into the yellow RCA that's labeled AV1 in the multimedia interface. At this point, secure all loose cables and mount the multimedia interface using 3M double-sided molding tape and zip ties to the metal support beam. Take the rest of the front view camera's cable and route it through the opening towards the driver's footwell. Open the hood of the vehicle and remove the 3 plastic fasteners that hold the plastic trim in place. Then lift up to remove this piece. Here you can see a wiring harness. We're going to drill through this rubber grommet to the right of the wires to feed the camera cable through. To help get the wire through the firewall, slide a thin metal hanger or sturdy wire through the rubber grommet. Then secure the cable with electrical tape and gently pull the camera cable through. With the F10, we just need to remove the weather stripping by gently pulling up. Then remove the 4 plastic fasteners and the 6 torque screws that secure the top in place. The lower grille is removable, so we don't need to remove the entire bumper. Slide your finger or a hook tool in the center grille and gently pull it out. The side grills remove the same way. Removing these first may help you remove the center grille easier. Once the grille has been removed, line up your front view camera in the middle of the grille. We tape down the rubber grommet to use as a cutting guide. Once this is lined up, the plastic can be cut with a utility knife. Slide in the front view camera, ensuring that you have a rubber grommet on both sides of the grille. Then screw the front of the camera on and secure it in place with the provided set screw and Allen key. Once you've installed the camera, test it to make sure the camera is in the correct orientation. Continue routing the cable to the top of the front bumper, securing it along the way with zip ties. Slide the wire behind the opening and out the lower center grille. Then slide the heat shrink tubing over the wire, connect the connections, and heat the heat shrink to ensure a weather-tight seal. Once the connection has been made, gently reinstall the grille and secure the extra wire. Then reinstall the plastic fasteners, torque screws, and plastic trim for the front bumper. Once this has all been complete, reinstall any other components that may have been disassembled during the installation process, and the installation is now complete. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you may also like this one. Also, be sure to visit us online at www.bimmer-tech.net and feel free to contact us at any time at info@bimmer-tech.net. Thanks so much.